All right, here we are with another special North Georgia Advocate podcast. I'm here with Viral, and our special guest today is Amanda Browning. She is running for the mayor of the metropolis of Lula. And, and there's been a lot of things going on in Lula the last several years, and it's been interesting to see how everything's going and how it's going to migrate. And how the city's changed, especially if you're like me that grew up here your whole life. Lula used to just be a stop in the road, by the Lord. It wasn't even a four-way stop at the time, and we'd come to just a two-way stop and you miss it. But now it's getting a lot bigger. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you interested in like like living in Lula or having a business near Lula or deciding to get involved in the politics.
So I moved to Lula 32 years ago from Michigan. I actually met my first husband. He lived in Lula, and I met him when I was here on vacation. So I moved here, and crazy enough, I lived just across the wooden bridge at that first house. I rented a garage apartment. It was $275 a month.
Oh, good.
I know. And I at that time, I did everything in Lula. I mean, I used the Lula, which used to be Morrison Grocery. I used to get all my groceries from Morrison Grocery. If my car needed a tune-up, it was at the hardware store. I was going by there all the time. I did my laundry at the Lula Laundry. And so I have some very fond memories. And then, of course, as I've gotten older, I bought my first house just a year later after moving into Lula. I bought a house on Lula Road, and then my dream was to have a farm. And unfortunately, from another family, they got foreclosed on. And when they got foreclosed on, I got their farm. So I now have a 27-acre farm in Lula that we've raised kids on, we've raised animals on. We did homesteading for what seems like a million years. We would have schools from all over come just to do tours at our farm.
Okay.
Yeah. And then eventually I started Amanda's Farm to Fork. And then we grew into a restaurant that was in downtown Lula. And then after 5 years in downtown Lula, we had outgrown it. And then we moved our business to White County. But over the summer in July, I started a farm stand in Lula. Well, that farm stand has all the food that we would have in our restaurant. And it has become very popular. People that would frequent the restaurant now, they can still get our food. So
right. Well, that's good. Well, that's good. And Lula is just, it's changed, but it hasn't changed, 'cause I remember everywhere you're talking about, and then I remember like is Woody's is still out there? It's still there. The Woody's.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it used to be on Athens Street when you come in up the hill.
Yeah, remember they used to have the deer cooler, and Lula tore that down and made a parking lot, I guess you would call it. So,
okay, I've been up there recently, but I've been coming in the old Cornelia Highway.
Yes.
Instead of going up, you take your life in your own hands, you go up 365 nowadays.
That is the truth. Yes, it is very dangerous.
And, and here we're here in Lula, maybe annexing some of that in over towards the interstate. Is that true?
I have not heard that, but what we do need to think about is on Athens Street itself, they've got 400 homes coming in. Plus,
yeah, I seen the grading on that.
Plus, across the street, directly across the street from the 400 homes, they're wanting to put another 100 homes. So that would be at least 1,000 cars in and out of Athens Street, which we all know it's not a safe intersection on the 365 stretch anyway. And people don't want to go all the way back through and go to Lula Road to catch the light. So I would seem to think in my near future that we'll be seeing a light there, another light.
We're going to have to, because now, if you're just doing the speed limit, and you're wanting to turn on Ashland Street, you've almost got to lock the car down in the turn lane to be able to make the turn.
Yes, because
And
they
if you
haul
slow
under.
down, yeah, if you slow down on 365, you may get run off the road
That's
before
true.
you get in the turn lane. So
And
what do you do?
we've noticed an influx of tractor trailers that just blow that light. They just go on through it, and it's because we don't even have the inland port yet with all their trucks, but it has just recently gotten so much more worse.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I went to J-Moore just a few weeks ago. It was all I was, and I'm not a timid driver. Trust me. I mean, I was literally scared once I got to Lula and on up. Oh, it was terrible. It wasn't too bad because all the red lights from here up to Lula, halfway to Lula. Once you get past where they built the quick trip right there, it gets terrible.
Mm-hmm. And in the afternoons, when you from 3 o'clock all the way past 6 o'clock, you're going to sit in traffic. It doesn't matter what you do.
Right.
And I had read the other day that the plans to redo 365, they were on to be done by 2030, and now they're saying 2050.
Yeah. Can you imagine the work it's going to take to put exits at all those roads, or you're going to have those access roads built or whatever? I mean,
It's a lot.
They've not even started buying land for it yet.
Yeah.
So there's no telling when that'll get done.
Or how they'll make it happen.
Now, how's Lula grown in the last 5 years? Would you say that, it's still a great town to live in, but we hear a lot of complaints about, we've seen a change in the city managers, we've had some upheaval in the politics, and a lot of the business owners are not happy. Is that
so
just
I
because
keep
of the
up.
current leadership, or is that because of lack of infrastructure, or what is that all about?
So my honest opinion is that the city itself, they don't support their businesses that they do have there. That has been my, I mean, even when we were in business there, we had a business that moved in next door to us. We're a restaurant. We had a business move in next door to us that was a painting booth. And we, for the life of us, don't understand why they were ever given a license to be next to us. But that painting booth, the fumes would actually fill our restaurant. And we had environmental health come in and say, I'm sorry, you can't serve people when you have this problem. And at the time, we thought we were going to lose everything we had. We didn't know what we were going to do. And we went to the city. We tried to get help. We went to, we talked to the mayor, of course, begged for help. Dennis, who at the time was the city manager, he's like, Amanda, we can't impede on another business. We've allowed them to have a business license. We can't stop them. So we knew at that time, with the current leadership, with the current mayor, which is Joe, we were never going to get anyone to help us. Right. And that's exactly what happened. Eventually the paint booth, they went out of business. We stayed in business. And then at that point, though, we knew that as a business in Lula, we were receiving such a small amount of support. It wasn't the place that we needed to be. And we knew that we had outgrown it. So it really got us on our feet to just go ahead and hurry and find another place.
Well, and that's the thing, because I remember when all this happened, and I've known Dennis Bergen for 25 years. I used to coach his son in college baseball and college prospect baseball and travel ball. And he's always seemed like a nice and fair guy. Yes. But as city manager, I think his hands were just kind of tied, and there was not much he could do.
Right. And I've had a business in Lula. The first business I opened was in 2000. So I had dealt with Dennis for many years, and he had always been supportive of all of my ideas, including all of the ideas to have schools come to the farm for trips, all of that. He even helped us at one point get a variance for our farm so that if we wanted to build a wedding venue there, we could.
Right.
And that kind of leads into our dilemma now with our farm is at that time they had one rule. They approved us for everything. The only rule was all of our traffic could only be used, have access on Highway 52. We could not use our back drives that are on Julian Ball Road because Julian Ball itself just could not support that type of traffic.
Right.
And we were fine with that. Completely good. But then this year, just a few months ago, the Riles brothers purchased the piece of property that is across the street from us. And they turned an agricultural property now into an MI, which is a mixed industry.
Right.
And they're going to build their business there. Well, the problem with that is when I talked to Casey Riles, he said, Amanda, it's not a big deal. It'll be 40 gravel trucks in and out per day. And then 100 cars for our employees. And I said, well, I just tried to do a wedding venue just 2-3 years ago. And they said, absolutely not if we're using Julian Ball because they can't handle that traffic. But they were approved. It didn't matter how much I complained, they were approved. And so now in the last, probably about 3 weeks ago now, we had somebody coming around and they were doing surveys on all our properties. They did surveys on my property. They did surveys on all the properties across the street and down the road. When I asked them, I said, hey, what are y'all doing? We're doing surveys. Well, who gave you permission? Well, we don't have to get permission when it's surveys. And I did not know that. It wasn't until Joey, the city attorney, said, Amanda, when it comes to surveying, anyone can come through and do the surveys. And so now we're wondering, we've had 2 offers on our property, our 27 acres, because we're the largest parcel right there. But we can see that it won't be long where all of that road, since they've annexed in and it's mixed industry, will be mixed industry.
Yeah,
Is your farm off of 52?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm on 52 and I go all the way back Julian Ball until I hit the Riles brothers have 34 acres on one side and then 4 acres on my side.
Right. Okay. And seeing we're running into that too with one of our members with a farm off 129. They got a guy buying the land next to him. He's got a totally organic free range farm for chickens and cows.
Oh, Nick.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah. We go back 100 years.
And I'm sure he's told you about the guys that come in and bought the property, and they told him they couldn't build or anything near the spring at the back of the property, and now they're already grading next to the spring and clearing all that land, and who's going to stop them? If people, and they're just basically going to they're trying to run Nick out what they're doing.
Right. Which I feel the same thing. When I went to Frank, when I went to Frank, the city manager, I went to every councilman. I sent them an email. I even sent an email to everybody on the board and Hall County because they decided the Riles brothers annexed into city of Lula for more than one reason. They didn't just annex because they keep saying they love Lula. They annexed in because all their permits will be a quarter of the cost of what it would cost in Hall County. Right. And then it was definitely the path of least resistance. They knew that they could bulldog that because they've got their little building downstairs or downtown, that because they did that building, that has impacted Lula, they say, in a positive way. But ask any business that's on that street that doesn't have parking because they have 10 or 12 trucks down there, it hasn't impacted it in a positive way. Well, so now the council is saying, well, now they're going to be out on Julian Ball. It will help downtown. It'll help downtown, but now you've just ruined a bunch of agricultural land to put that.
Yeah. And what's it gonna do with your farm with 40 trucks a day? How long is it gonna be before it's 42 and 43? Oh, what's another 5 trucks? You know,
Yeah,
where does it
it doesn't
stop?
stop. Mm-mm.
No.
Especially if you're going to build, I can't remember exactly. I want to say it's like a 9,000 square foot warehouse that they're going to put in. Once you put in that, I mean, the sky is really the limit. And their reasoning for leaving County Line Road was because they outgrew. Well, now they got 34 acres. You can put a lot of trucks out on 34 acres.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, 'cause my uncle, he used to own the D&F pallet factory on County Line Road. Roger Dyer, when you turn on County Line, it was right there on the right. And when it burned years ago, he just didn't rebuild it, but he ran into trouble 2 years ago trying to expand his pallet factory. They wouldn't let him do a bunch of stuff, but it's because he didn't align himself with the proper people.
And I agree. That's definitely in Lula, it is a good old boys club. And what was sad about it was when I went in there to talk to Frank about the Riles brothers doing that part of the property, if you look at their big, huge map that's in there, the only piece of property that was marked on that map was my property, and it had MI on it. So when I questioned Frank, I said, why is my property marked like that? He said, well, you're mixed industry. I had to go down to Hall County, pull all the paperwork, bring it to Frank and say, absolutely not. I'm on a conservation and it's all ag. And he was like, oh, well, I must be mistaken. I said, you are absolutely mistaken.
And that's what they're trying to do to Nick too. They did all that land next to him, they changed it to MI as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he can tell they keep getting folks, you know, and it's a shame. I mean, they make it so expensive to be a farmer anyway.
That's right.
And then you figure in all these added costs that you're going to have to take because all those chemicals and stuff that's going to be on that land going to have to move over onto your property.
Yes, it will. Not only, and it's not just the chemical pollution you have to think about. It's the noise, the traffic, all of the other things that it is incorporating. I mean, right there, Julian Ball Road is a main road for Hall County school system. Well, it's running for the elementary exactly the same time, and he's going to be running his trucks.
Yeah.
How is that going to work out?
Yeah, they're not going to tell him not to work between 1:30 and 3:30. I mean, you know that. Or between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning, you know. But it's funny,
it
when you
seems
go
like
back to your restaurant, they said you couldn't encroach on that guy's business, but they was in the sure did encroach on yours.
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember when I was dry. I remember one time we were up there visiting Dave, and the smell was just so terrible. I mean, you know, it was. I couldn't imagine sharing a building with a guy.
Yeah, and what was horrible about that is he didn't just have a regular paint booth. He was spraying bedliners, but he was painting cars with the bedliner stuff. So it was a stronger chemical than if he was just spraying.
Right.
So it seems like a lot of these smaller towns, and I mean, even in Hall County over the last decade or so, industry, you know, they all want industry. We're pro-business. We're pro-business. We want growth. We want these jobs to come in, and at the cost of agricultural land and rural, the rural aspect of the county, and then you know, a small town like Lula, which isn't small anymore. They kind of have different rules for certain people, especially if you're bringing business and possible, you know, economic value. What, as far as for you running for mayor of Lula, what do you think your first steps are going to be to maybe help, not necessarily reverse course, but to at least like slow it down, to actually preserve agricultural land out there like you're wanting to do?
I think I would love to teach the council themselves how to say the word no.
Yeah.
I mean, their biggest fear is if we say no, somebody's going to sue us. Well, you have a lawyer on your board that you are paying a salary to.
Mhm.
Make him earn his keep. There is nothing
why he
wrong with
does.
saying no.
Yeah, that's why he's there.
But they won't do it. Every time something comes up, that's their thing. Amanda, they're going to sue us. They all came to me. Every one of them that sits there came to me when they wanted to get rid of Joe as the mayor. They all were on board with it, but they all were not on board with kicking him off because it could cause a lawsuit. And I'm thinking, that's what you pay them for. That's why you have a lawyer.
Why are they so scared of a lawsuit?
That seems to be every time something comes up in Lula, that is their thing. It could cause the taxpayers. It could cause the taxpayers. And I understand that. But if we are going to protect our city, which is what I'm worried about, because they're not going to protect the city. If we're going to protect our city, then at some point we're going to have to just say no. And if somebody doesn't like it, well, I'm sorry that you don't like it. I'm sorry it hurts your feelings, but we love our city more than we love what you're bringing to it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they've got to understand that it may cost you more right now, but the money it's going to save you long term is exponential. You don't know how much it can save. And if I'm not mistaken, if you take somebody the city to court, and we're learning that with this Cagle Road and the misconduct with the Hall County Commission and the planning appeals, whoever brings the lawsuit, they've got to pay the court costs. From what I understand, the county will have to pay for their attorney, or the city will have to pay for their attorney, but all the court costs come from the people bringing the lawsuit. And that's, and you know, and usually most of the judges, they tell you, look, get together and come to an agreement. You know, they don't want that in front of them.
And then another problem I have seen is none of these developers, except for the Nortons, they're not from here. They don't care. They're going to come in, they're going to build their stuff, and then they're going to sell it out, and then they're going to be gone. So they don't care. And I don't know that everybody understands the impact of letting somebody come in and build and do all these things when they clearly don't care.
Yeah.
They owe nothing to Lula other than we've brought the property, we're going to build, and we're done. They owe us nothing. And when you're dealing with those sort of people, they're not on the up and up. They're not there to be your friend, your buddy, your pal, unless they need something out of Lula to be able to get something done. I've been looking at
some business venture for them. I mean, they're looking at it as dollar signs, and really nothing more than that.
We were talking about, they had some of the setbacks on this new, the 100 house thing. They wanted, the in between, they wanted to drop it from like 10 feet to 7 feet. And I was thinking to myself, I'm from up north, and when we go through Ohio, we always laugh about the sugar houses. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but when you go up north in Ohio, there are a ton of houses where you can honestly pass sugar between the windows because they have put them so close. And they've been there, 50 years, 60 years. But when I think about them dropping that 10 feet to 7 feet, that's what I think about. If you leaned out your window enough, when you think of 100 homes on I don't even know how many acres I think that they've got it up for, and then they're talking about, we're going to have a swimming pool. We're going to have a recreation area. We're going to have all this stuff. Well, that lot just got smaller and smaller and smaller to provide all these extra bougie things. So how much are they shoving into that little area?
Exactly. Well, and most of these amenities, I live off Pine Valley and White Sulphur. I live off Clark's Ridge, but I travel. They're putting 360 townhomes and houses on the intersection of Pine Valley and White Sulphur. Then they're just building 400 more across on Crescent Drive over there across the railroad track. And they built a swimming pool on the one on Pine Valley, just completed it. It's like a backyard swimming pool. I mean, you can fit 15 people in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their amenity. I
Right.
mean, one thing, you know, it's just, those are just talking points to sway.
So
the
they
state.
glaze over. Their whole
Yeah.
eyes just glaze over. It's gonna be so nice. It's gonna be so nice. And then at the end of the day, we're like, what did we just get? We got a
Well,
blow up hot tub.
yeah, I mean, like some of these richer neighborhoods, they do it the right way. They have like Olympic-sized pool. They put in like 6 or 7 tennis courts and a big. I mean, that's amenity. Not
Right.
a freaking kidney-shaped swimming pool without an amenity. You know, it's like a motel pool. I mean, come
That's
on,
right.
you put one big float in it, and that takes up the whole thing. You know, and I hate to see that. 'Cause I'm sure Lula, y'all pour y'all's water from the city of Gainesville, right?
No, I don't think I think we pull ours from White County. I could be
White
wrong.
County now, okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I know when Dennis was there, he was working on a deal to get Gainesville sewer and everything pulled on up through there, and I didn't know if it ever went through.
As far as I know, no, it has
That's
not.
good. That's good because the way it's going around here, there's no telling what to, especially with that data center and everything,
Mm-hmm.
because that's pretty close to Lula as well. That's going to affect everybody in the area possibly if they don't handle it correct. You know.
But like everything else in as in Hall County, as in Lula, everything just gets tabled until people forget about it. And then
Yeah.
once it's forgotten about, then they'll be like, oh, we got to vote on it today. And
Right
that's that
now,
100 homes in Lula on Athens Street. They tabled it till December. And the guy, I mean, he came in and he walked up there. He said, I'm just unprepared. I already asked to table it. But they went through the whole spiel because it already been published in the paper.
right. See, and that's where we're dealing with that big subdivision on Cagle Road.
Mm-hmm.
They tabled it till December, but it ends up they've got the guy on the other side of it. They're wanting to buy his land now to give them more access on the north end of it. So they're trying to change the whole plan, bringing it in front of the planning commission or the county commission. They're just going to try to sneak it in the December meeting. You know, and say, look, oh, we've done our due diligence. We're going to improve this, and without going through the proper channels.
And I believe that a lot of that is because for so many years, nobody has held Hall County accountable.
No, they haven't.
And they have just, the Good Old Boys Club has just done whatever it is that they had on their agenda to make their stuff go through. That's what they've done.
Yeah, and if somebody did challenge it, they'd come up with some BS excuse or BS answer, and everybody'd say, "Okay, that sounds good," and just drop it. They never challenge them. And that's the good thing with Lula is if you're getting in now, you can get it before it starts getting big.
Yeah, and teach them how to say no, because we need to say no. I mean, I can't imagine. I know that if you are at 52 and 365 and you're going back towards Lula, they're getting ready to build all on the right-hand side. And it's going to be, you know, they've already tore down all the houses. It's supposed to be a bunch of warehouses.
Yeah, I think it's Rochester and Associates that have purchased all that land back there right off of behind that Chevron gas station out there, and then like gotten it all rezoned through the county.
Mm-hmm.
That's what kids from Rochester, once they sold their company to that big company, he just went off the chain buying, him and his family buying everything. And, you know.
Well, this is a byproduct, in my opinion, just with the inland port coming in. I feel like this is what this is. This is everybody getting ready for an influx of companies needing warehouse space, going to where, again, like Amanda said, the path of least resistance. And you know, over the last few years, me personally looking at doing small data centers for my tech company, I was pushed to, hey, go talk to Lula. Lula wants industry, so maybe you'll have your path forward over there. fast forward, didn't really work out in Lula at that time, but that's the word on the street. Is Lula wants industry. Go up there. It's a little easier to get stuff done up there. Same thing with the county too, and the city too. Everybody, again, they want industry. All of these towns, whether it's the city of Gainesville or whether it's the city of Atlanta, whether it's a county like Hall County or Fulton, if you're bringing in business, you're bringing in tax revenue for the county. We want it. So it's a very uphill battle I feel like for someone like Atlanta that's wanting to preserve land and the conservation aspect when you have this massive amount of money being pushed behind industries, and then obviously the port. I mean, like I said, that's the main driving factor. And I'm looking at it on Google Maps right now. They got it updated, and it looks like it's coming along fast.
Very fast.
It's a massive airport-looking type situation over here. And now that we can actually see some of the stuff cut out, I see the railroad tracks that are being put through it, and all the roads. You got the road in between Kubota and a couple of those warehouses, and then I zoom out, and all I see is conservation land that you're talking about. And from if I put myself into the shoes of a real estate developer like a Norton or the Riles brothers or whoever is local or out of state, it screams money. It screams nothing but money. So money, jobs, etc. So yeah.
So we've had 2 offers on our land already, and each of them were at $100,000 an acre.
Okay.
Let that soak in for a second. That's a lot of money. And my husband, he still says to me every day, when you're ready, you let me know. I am not, loving this land as much as you do, and I don't mind starting over.
Right.
And I am the opposite of that. I'm like, if we sell out, it will not even take a minute, a blink, and across the street, all of those people will then sell out. And I said, I'm going to hold steadfast as long as I can to try to preserve it. I mean, I raised my children there, and I just can't imagine.
Yeah, and how does Lula? They make money off of fees. They don't have property taxes or anything like that. And I've heard rumors that they may have to start that, and I think that's because you're looking at 500 homes fixing to be built. That's a lot of money.
And they, I don't think so. I have said, and I was the only person that was up there when we had our little town hall meeting. I said, it's not realistic to think that you're not going to pay city taxes. It's coming. I said, everybody on this board could sit there and say, we're not going to ever have city taxes. But we're going to have to be honest about it, because some of the people that you're letting annex into Hall County, they're turning around. These businesses are getting abatements where they're not paying any taxes. Right. So you're not winning, you're losing. And I don't think that the average person understands that. They just look at the fact that their Hall County tax is huge. What are we going to do about if we have a city tax too? And I don't have an answer for that. I would like to think that if somebody sat down and looked at those books, there's probably some areas that could be worked on. And that was one of the things that is my wheelhouse. I was a bookkeeper for 22 years. I dealt with millions of dollars on a daily basis. And so when I see my counterpart, Bruce that's running, his is in transit. He was a truck driver, and now he does transit. So his wheelhouse is looking at how the Port Authority, how that is going to work into Lula, which is another fantastic aspect also. But I think where I'm at is I'm thinking more about the people. We're an elderly community. Most people don't realize how old some of the community is. This is not a youthful community. We are all in an older age. And because of that, I don't think that we're doing due diligence to take care of those people or to try to communicate what needs to happen in Lula to
Sure.
keep it
Well,
going.
a lot of it is the older people don't understand. They don't know because they've just went from an all-shut community with 5,000 people to growing and growing, and they're scared if they don't grow with it, what's going to happen. But if you go with it, they know what's going to happen. You know, and I think that's where somebody like you would come in and use a common sense approach, not just just a hell no approach, but just, hey, we're not against it. You just bring something to us that makes sense for everybody.
Right. And the other thing is I keep talking to people about it. Has anybody thought, we've got Gainesville is coming further and further and further out. They're moving their lines all the time because they're making deals with the poultry chemical plant that they have. You got Kubota, you've got all of these. Who's to say if we don't stand our ground, Gainesville doesn't swallow us too?
Yeah. You're going to end up like Athens. It'll be all Athens, like Athens, Clark County with one big Gainesville annexes and stuff. They're already out through Rabbit Town now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've annexed it past White Sulphur, and they built the new ballpark.
I mean, even East Hall High School, it's in Gainesville.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy how they keep getting these islands, and all county just gladly gives it up too.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's less headache for them.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, that's like the Olympic Park. They had a gold mine and they refused to keep it up. And the city of Gainesville took it, and look what they're doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
They make money. They're going to take place.
All the time. Yes.
And as well as I do, once those homes are built, more buildings are going to be built between those homes and the interstate. And you're going to have people wanting to Lula to annex in that stuff as well. And it could be a situation either we get it or Gainesville gets it.
Right.
And you kind of stuck in a bad spot if we keep expanding, which means services are going to have to expand.
Right.
You may have to
I'm in the city and I have water because I paid to run the water. But right. I don't have septic. Septic doesn't run out Lula Road. So, and as far as I know, septic doesn't run out Athens Street either. So right. Those are the two main roadways over to 365 where there's not even water or septic.
Well, I think there's got to be, if I'm not mistaken, you can't be, if you got a septic tank, you got to have at least a half-acre lot. Maybe a 1 acre lot. But
my sister lives on Riley Farm. She's got a 1/4 acre lot and she has a septic tank and she has well water.
Oh, goodness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how that, they must have changed it in the last UDC because I can remember it used to be like an acre. Then they moved it to a half acre. And then if it's that way now, my God, I mean, what are they going to do? Her house was built in 95. But yeah, it's 1/4 acre lot. It's just a small little lot.
That's interesting. That's such a small lot to have a well on and a septic system.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because you're imagining like your drain field and all that.
Yeah, how do you fit it in?
I mean, it's got to be contaminating the groundwater at some point. But maybe it's enough to filter it out. Who knows? But it seems like when they're updating the UDC, it's just like, well, folks don't have it, folks can't afford or don't have enough land, so let's just make it smaller. It's like I don't think there's any necessarily any environmental concerns at that point. It's just what's the path of least resistance.
And I think that's what they all use.
Yeah, and that's why we're upset with Greg Poole, kind of the district attorney. I've had people talk to him, and we talk to him. He won't stand up for the community in the meeting. He does in the papers and before and after. But when it comes to vote, he don't hold the other commissioners accountable.
And
And that's wrong. I mean, that's when you fight for your people, when the votes are being taken. You don't
Say
talk
something.
about after the vote's already been done, the damage is done.
And when I did go to his thing the other night that he had, I only went because I knew the Riles brothers were hosting it for him.
Okay.
So I went and I, said my highs and spoke with everyone. But I guess I just don't know enough about him or haven't been to enough meetings to make a full decision about how I feel about him. But I felt like that night, he didn't say anything different than anybody else is saying.
Yeah. And that's the reason we're wanting to reach out to people like you, and we did one with Brandon Reed. Everybody, and even people that's announced for next year's election, they all are chirping the same stuff. We know what the problems are. We want to know what your solutions are going to be.
Right.
And like with Brandon, we were impressed with him because he actually went out. He was out every night talking to the police officer, talking to the firemen,
Right.
talking to everybody involved, and getting to know what the community wanted and needed. And not just looking out for the how can Brazelton grow? How much more tax money can we get bringing in, or whatever?
Yeah.
He generally seems like he wants to do what the citizens want. And from what I'm hearing, that's kind of where you're kind of going. You want to get input from everybody, and then y'all make an informed decision.
Right. I think that I feel from my own experience there in Lula is that I have always felt like, not always, that's not the correct. I have felt in the last 5 years that I have not been listened to. And
Right.
so that has had an impact about when we were, when we had the opportunity to build at the farm, that held me back. I said, I just don't think we should do it. I don't think we can. I don't mind saying that Jim Greer, he was probably my most favorite mayor. And I've been friends with a lot of them, mostly because during COVID, I felt like he went over and above to support the businesses. He had us on the marquee. He was out eating at our restaurant. He was using all the services in Lula to keep everybody going. And I would like to use that as how I see things. I want to be that same way. I want to keep it in Lula, support our businesses that we have, try to talk to our community. I just don't, I mean, the other night they had a meeting and it was like 5 people showed up. And I know that they can get online and watch it, but it's not the same as coming in and being community and visiting with each other and saying, hey, did you hear this? Or they need to get to know their councilman. They need to get to know their mayor. They need to get to know the city manager. I mean, they shouldn't be going in. If they really call it their home, these are all things that they should know. They should be able to say, oh, if I have a problem, I can call up Teresa at the city and say, hey, I've got a problem. Who can help me with it? I think most people don't even realize that.
Right.
That Teresa's been there 20 some years. You got Tangi, our city clerk. She's been there quite a few years now, and she is a wonderful person to work with as far as if you have questions, if you want to do an open records request, if you have those things. We have some people that are assets to our city and nobody knows them. I mean, I don't expect everybody to take an active look at their city. But if you really want to know what's going on, that's what you're going to have to do. They're going to have to open their eyes and go to meetings and see that things are going on. Because if you don't, then the things that are going on, they're just going to happen.
Oh, yeah, especially in a city the size of Lula. I mean, if you frequent the stores and you're involved, you could know pretty much everybody,
Yep.
And players. It's not always that easy in all county or Gainesville now. There's so many moving parts, but you can get to know the major players and be involved. But in a small town like Lula, you should want to be more involved. And if you don't, especially if you care what happens to the town, you're right.
Amanda, how much do you attribute that to what you said earlier about the population of the town being a little bit older?
And I think that has a huge. I don't think that the normal person realizes that our average age has got to be, and I don't know this for sure, over 60. I mean, we just have an aging community, and I know that from when I had the restaurant there. That's who was coming in all the time, the aging community. That's who needed the attention. They needed for somebody to listen to them. They needed for, you know, for us, it was, feed them a meal, let them tell us what's going on. And even at that time, they all were thinking to themselves, Lula is growing too fast. And it has grown leaps and bounds since we left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I know, especially your restaurant was probably the heartbeat of the community because you got to hear all sides, all that. Even if you wasn't involved in the conversation, you could still overhear what was going on, and and you're just thinking to yourself, why don't these people speak up?
Right.
And hopefully, if you get in there, you can change that a lot. And I think with somebody like Joe being in charge, that scares a lot of people away too.
Yeah. Joe as a mayor, I mean, I think in the beginning, I don't know what his plan was. If you ask me, I think his wife wanted to run, but she thought that people wouldn't vote for her. So she put her husband there so that she could,
Right.
Do the things, her itinerary. But it has not turned out to be that loving community. We've got a mayor that half the town, he's the villain in their story. And the other half of the town just doesn't, they're like, oh, he's our mailman. And that's where it ends.
Yeah,
So
is this the postmaster?
He's not the postmaster, but he's the mailman. Yeah.
But he's I remember seeing something in the news about some like mail tampering or something like that in the city of Lula.
Yes.
Is that him?
Yes, he refused to deliver my mail.
Oh, wow.
So for 6 months we didn't get mail. And this is the crazy thing. I never realized that there was a problem because I mean, everybody's digital with their bills and everything. It wasn't until somebody that I was doing a Georgia Mountain Food Bank. They had sent me my deposit for my I do the 1,000-person luncheon every year, the empty bowl luncheon. They had sent me my deposit for that event, and I never got it. And the reason, they're like, Amanda, we've sent it to you, and I'm like, well, I never got it. Well, then we started watching, and he was never delivering the mail. So then I went down to the postmaster and I said, there's a problem. I'm not getting mail. Well, then it wasn't just me. It was Dave that was at the Mercantile. He wasn't getting mail. And then the vape shop, they're like, well, we don't get mail. And then we were talking to the groomers and they're like, well, we don't get mail either. And so
wait, so how does that happen? Like he just doesn't deliver mail for 6 months and no repercussions, no consequences?
No repercussions. No.
He got all scot-free.
It got on the front page of the news though.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I know the post office or USPS, the mail worker, the mailmen and the mail women, they have a union, and it's a very strong union.
Right.
Because we had a guy that used to deliver mail to our business in Gainesville, and he got caught with crack cocaine on his route.
Oh my.
And supposedly he was making his deliveries for that with the mail, and like nothing.
Wow.
On the wrist, no arrest, no nothing. And that's when I found out about their union, like how strong it is. It's like you could do so much corrupt
Everybody
stuff.
always says that's a federal crime. That's a federal crime. Yeah, well, try to go after the post office just one time.
Yeah, that's
You're
crazy.
gonna get nowhere.
That is crazy.
No, you're not. And Joe, and he's also Felton Wood, his right hand man, right? He's running for city council.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, Llewellyn wins again, you know, stays on the council. He seems like a level-headed guy.
He does. The only thing that worries me about him, he answers all my questions. He's been fantastic about my emails, just talking to me in general. I know that he is, when it comes to your property, he doesn't want anybody on earth to have any say. So when he sold his property in Lula, that was his biggest thing. He didn't want anybody to have any say. He wanted to be able to do whatever he wanted to with it, which I get it. I've got 27 acres. I feel the same way. I don't want somebody to tell me I can't raise pigs. But when you think about bringing in an industry to your little piece of property that's going to affect everybody around you, then I think you have to be more open to listen to the complaints around you rather than I got my money and I'm out of here.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page with you on that, Amanda. It's like I don't personally think I should be able to tell, or anybody should be able to tell somebody else what they can do and can't do with their property until it directly affects them around them. And then at that point, they also should have a say in whether something gets approved there or not. So, and that's rightful. I mean, at least raise concerns and be heard and whatnot. But you know, something like you having a restaurant and then them letting them put a painting booth right next door that's causing paint fumes to come into your business. That's a no-no. That should have never happened. Or at least it should have been shut down right after it happened and own up to it that, hey, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But they were like, we've already given them their business license. They're in business. They're working. So we wrote it out until they went out of business. And it was rough. I mean, because we had people that refused to eat in the restaurant. They're like, we just need to take our food to go.
I would too. I would absolutely. I mean, I don't want to inhale those fumes while I'm eating, you know? So yeah, that makes complete sense.
But yeah, it's I've been talking with Chris on a Facebook group a couple of times. There's another group that's raising sand about the SPLOST money coming into Lula, and it's not being spent. And the way Chris made it sound was, you know, we can't really spend that money because we're waiting on the railroads to approve fixing that highway. And that makes a lot of sense, because if you spend it, and then the railroads say, okay, we're ready, and then Lula's has to say, well, we don't have the money anymore.
So
how do you handle something like that?
So what I understand is it is the right of way of the railroad that needs to take care of whatever this issue is. But because Lula has not gotten any response from the railroad, they are going to pay to do it. So if it was me and my finances in my business, I'm going to be knocking on doors every other day until the railroad gives me a damn good reason why they ain't taking care of their own business.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to let $2 million sit in a bank account to wait to see what the railroad does. I mean, we have a city manager and an assistant city manager. I would like to think that in their day that they can work out a 5-minute call every single day to the railroad to say,
absolutely.
Hey,
I mean, that's your job.
Yeah.
That's literally your job. Go follow
the
up.
Railroads are slow in doing anything anyway. You see all these, how long did it take to get the railroad fixed at that one spot where the road now goes up under the bridge and they had.
Yes.
Hey, listen, it didn't take that long for them to work out.
And I think that one of them said the railroad's only responsible for half of that road, and then Lula's the other half. And somehow the railroad doesn't control all the roads.
Right.
And you can't fix half of it. I mean, you know, I see both sides of it, but you got to keep it, because the longer you wait, you know, inflation's going up. If it costs $3 million today, it may cost $5 million in a year.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but at the same time, Lula needs to spend that money as well. I mean, they got stuff they need done.
And I mean, right now they're just sitting on it. And And it's the same thing that you're saying, that the prices of everything are going to increase. So if we don't use that money, I know that I was the one that I'm not for SPLOST. I'm not for it because Hall County takes in enough of my money. Now and I know it's the fairest tax to have because across the board, everybody pays it. But my thing is they need to control their budget and we need to do the same. And if you're not controlling your own budget, that is where a big part of the problem is. And to just have that money sitting in that account when we have probably, I mean, our water line infrastructure has got to be, I mean, during wintertime, we all the time are having pipes busting everywhere. So I'm sure there are other needs that could really help with instead of waiting for whatever length of time you decide to get the railroad to communicate with you.
And I doubt it's got any interest. It's probably even in an interest-bearing account at that point too. So it's just literally $2 million sitting there, slowly melting away its purchasing power.
So that's not dollar interest that loses value every day because inflation.
So what about the railroad though? Whoever's in charge of this inland port, they clearly got what they needed with the railroad system, and
so they were able to move with it.
Yeah, so it's so what it sounds like is it's just knowing the right people, which what else is new in politics, but maybe somebody needs to from Lula needs to get in touch with whoever worked on this inland port and figure out who the right person is to talk to about what needs to be done in Lula with the railroad track.
Now they're merging the two railroads. The railroad that comes from the Norfolk Southern and that other railroad, they're merging, so that's going to delay it even further.
Yeah.
So, something's got to be done because, say, if you're a mayor, I mean, how far would you, what's the other way y'all got to raise money other than business licenses and other fees? I mean, how do y'all get money as a city?
I think as far as money as a city, that's when we need to start thinking about the industries that we're bringing into our city. What is going to give us the most bang for our buck? And I don't think right now that is even being thought of. And I know that I can't remember if they said it was like for every 1 cent for SPLOST, we get like 0.03. It's minute. And I know that they think that will grow, that SPLOST money will grow for them as we get more people in the town. But unfortunately, then you go back to how do you balance all this? You want to be able to have more things in your town, but you don't want more people. But you don't want industry. So I think what we're looking at, it's going to be a dance. It's going to be like, we're going to have to sit down and have several town hall meetings and say, all right, you're part of this town. What is your vision? Not just my vision as a mayor, but if y'all look at your community, what would make our community so that people would just come here, even tourism wide? I mean, we do not have, I don't know if you're both, I mean, you said that you're friends with Dave. Our downtown is not an attractive downtown.
No,
it's not. And I don't mind saying that. I know that Mark Lusink, who's wonderful, has been wonderful to me. He built the restaurant exactly how I asked him to. He has sunk a lot of money into the town to make it more attractive. But then you have a whole row of buildings, which I wonder on a daily basis as you're driving through there, do people think everything's just out of business here? Because that's really what it looks like. If you're not from there, you're looking at these
building days, then it don't even look open. I mean, it looks like it could be abandoned. I mean, and you've got to do something. But at some point, you can't just charge $1,000 a year for business license because all the businesses will be gone.
Right.
I mean, something's going to have to give somewhere, and that's And having the town hall is a great idea, but, you know, because you ain't got anywhere else to go other than finding out what they want, or you're going to have to start implementing property taxes or whatever.
And I think that that's where the city will end up going if they decide that they can't bring in the businesses that can create the money that SPOS is giving them, and they can't get the people to move to the town. Then the next thing is going to be a city tax. And I know that that is sad that everybody doesn't want that, but it's the reality. Is if we don't learn to live within our budget, then money's got to come from somewhere. And that's why I would really like to look at where our books are. What is going on there? Where is all the dollars for Lula going out? Because if we're just getting that SPOS money and we're just sticking it back, we're really not benefiting our town with it anyway. It's there. We'll get to use it someday. But I think that we have a lot of immediate concerns that, they've been talking about putting sidewalks downtown ever since I had a restaurant there. When I opened in 2018, the sidewalks, they're going to work on it. They're going to come in the next few months. And I'm like, we still don't have those sidewalks. So it's 2025 going to be 2026. So.
Yeah, you are right. I believe if downtown was more aesthetic and was more nice, and even if it was just themed, I'm not saying well, I'll find like Helen or something, but just come up with what your town wants to be identified for. I mean, whether it's home, fun, antique, or whatever.
Right.
And make it all, and people will want to come to the town and go into places.
And I know that there for a while they were trying to do like a downtown Main Street, kind of what they did in Gainesville and some other towns I've seen, where they try to have somebody that plans events, brings people into the town, gets all of that going, gets on board with the business owners there. And that lasted a minute, like seriously, a minute, and then it was gone. So.
And I'm just wondering, why does a town, I don't know the book, but why does a town the size of Lula need an assistant city manager? And why can't that money be used to try to beautify or use it to bring more tourism to the city itself?
So, I used to wonder that too. And then somebody riddled off all of the things that Dennis was doing. And I thought to myself, well, now I can understand why he needs an assistant.
Right.
And then Frank got hired. And Frank's not one of my favorite people, just because I expect somebody, when I'm talking to you, you're going to look at me. You're not going to look away. And he doesn't have that eye-to-eye contact. So I always feel somebody's a little edgy or shaky and can't be trusted if they can't look at you.
Right.
Gary, who is the assistant city manager, I have been able to ask him all kinds of questions. He can rattle off stuff. He seems very qualified. In fact, if he were to, my personal opinion is, I think he could be more qualified than Frank. But I think that in our current situation, we need them both.
Okay. I was just wondering,
that's just being as honest. I don't think Frank needs somebody.
So see, if you do if a normal citizen gets an ORR on the budget and looks at it, they don't know what they're looking at because it's all in general terms. It's not in line items, and you don't know what's going where. So it's kind of hard to discern exactly where all the money. And really, before you know, you have to be on the city council or in office to
really get to look at things.
Yeah, to do a forensic audit on it, so you know exactly where things are going.
It shouldn't be that hard to get especially when you're contributing to the revenue of the city or county that you live in. It shouldn't be that hard to get a hold of the books. And it's a transparency issue in every city and town government.
And I know I've done several open records requests, and I almost feel like when I do them that Frank feels offended that I'm questioning him. And it shouldn't be that way. It should be, you should know that when you work a job, that job in particular, people are going to question you. They're not just going to question you today. They're going to question you every day. And that's what they should be doing.
Well, case in point, I'm not going to name names, but we had somebody do an ORR last week for Hall County. They refused to put it on a thumb drive, made her pay 10 cents a page for 1,500 pages.
Yeah.
Plus the time to do it. You know, that's just, they do that to try to scare you off from.
Right. From asking questions.
Yeah,
And
thank goodness she had some help from another group to help her get them. But a normal person can't do that.
Right. And the normal person doesn't, there is like no guidelines where they set that where you can pull up and say, okay, how do I do this?
No,
Every single, from Hall County to Lula itself, how to pull those open records requests. I once did an open records request for Felton Wood, and it was with Hall County about all the police reports. That thing, it was over an inch thick. Then they gave me so many pages free, and then I had to pay for the rest of them. And I know that it takes some time and everything. But my other question is, do we really want to make it so hard for our people to look at our stuff? If I just feel like if you're going to make it that hard on me, it's because you got something you don't want me to see. And so now I need to dig more.
Exactly. And that's the way it's got to be. And the way the law is set up, you're supposed to pay, that's the first 15 minutes are free. Then they charge you the hourly rate of their lowest, hourly employee. The county does a pretty good job of that, charging like $20 an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
But you go to the Board of Education, they charge you, they break their salary employees down into hourly pay. You're paying $80 to $100 an hour, depending on which record you want to get. I mean, we had a request that was going to be like $8,000 to get records for something on the Board of Education. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and they know you're not going to pay it.
And in that in itself, it's just wrong.
Oh, it's wrong.
And they somehow, though, they've gotten away with it. It goes back to so many years of no accountability. So now we have a group of people that is trying to hold these different groups accountable, and they're getting hit with a wall every time.
Yeah, and these good old boys don't like, you know, we were looking up 365 the other day, and most of the land up 365 now is owned by the Mansfield. You used to own Mansfield or Philip Willhouse.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and there's no barriers to them selling their land to whoever they want to develop it. That's what they're in business for.
They can do what they want.
Yeah, they get what they want, and that's what. There's nothing going to stop the development of 365 all the way from.
There's not.
All the way from New Holland to Lula. It's going to keep getting bigger and bigger.
Because they've got the money to do it. They've got everything they need to make it happen. And we had these small farms basically that are up and down 365 they know they're just waiting on their payday. And I understand that, but it's the ones that are not touching 365, that are off of 365. Now they are gradually being affected and getting roped into this payday, which may seem great initially, but is it really that great? I mean, are you willing to really? I mean, I'm one of the few people you'll ever meet. No mortgage, no car payment, no credit cards, no debt. I have none, not on my venue, not on my home. And so I don't need their money to run off. So I'm not in the position that a lot of them are, but with enough pressure. I mean, we are not, our community itself, we are not a rich community. We're a pretty moderate community. So they can flash them dollar signs, and a lot of those people are going to be like, it's probably more I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. And what a lot of people found out, especially when these homes prices started going up after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you may sell a $300,000 house for $800,000 now, but what's it going to cost to replace it? They don't think of that. What am I going to buy to replace it?
And I think that what they're forgetting, everyone is really forgetting, is, do you remember during Obama years, people were going and they were having these mortgage companies, these bankers that were having the people that were doing their appraisals in their pocket, and they were inflating those appraisals. And then when everything hit rock bottom, here we are, everyone's underwater, and you owe $100,000 more than what your house is worth.
Exactly.
So now we're getting back into that loop again, and I don't think people realize it, where again, appraisers are inflating what your house is worth, and you may go get a mortgage or a refinance or whatever it may be, and you may be stuck. I mean, seriously stuck.
Yeah.
I think that's I don't know what the word for it is, under education, or
They just don't.
well, they just don't understand the fact that, because anytime a tax bill comes in, people, even at our business, we run a gas station in Hall County, and it comes up as, oh, my house value went up, like that's, but they don't understand you're about to get taxed on that higher value,
Right.
and I don't, it's a math illiteracy problem, and I think it's an epidemic in this country. But you see that happen, and then everybody gets excited. It's like, yeah, my house is worth more. That's great, but it's also worth more for taxes now. So
the other thing is, going back to SPLOST, everybody's like, it keeps our taxes down. It keeps our. Well, tell me, when in Hall County has your taxes never gone up? Never.
We had a guy speak at the Board of Education meeting about a year ago now, and he had a spreadsheet that showed that Hall County's average property taxes over the last 8 years have went up an average of like 7.5% every year.
So I guess it's been, so in 2015, we built our house, and we got took by a builder. We got a bad builder. He was commonly known in the area. We thought he was this great guy. He was not. So we actually had a conservation on our property, but all of that changed when we built this house. So we built this house. We had to redo our conservation, redo other things. So we went from $900 a year for our 27 acres to a little over $6,000. So 1 year, in 1 year.
Yeah.
Well, our house became unlivable. It was, we had gas leaks in the wall. Our house was filled with gas. We had bad septic. They put in a septic tank that was for a 2-bedroom house instead of a 6-bedroom house. They did all these things that were wrong. Trying to fight a builder is crazy. But I do remember when I went down there to fight those taxes, I'm like, I can't even live in this house, and you are, you're making me pay these high taxes. Well, they made me go to what was considered a group of your peers to fight it. Well, everyone, that group of peers, they outaged me by 30 years at the time. And they had more diamonds on their fingers than I've owned in my lifetime. I mean, they were all very well off. So it was not a group of my peers.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was fighting this losing battle, and I can't remember his name, but at the time he spoke up for me, and he said, y'all, we really need to consider the fact that she can't live in this house.
They don't care. Yeah, these people don't care.
Yeah, they backed my taxes back down to $2,000 a year. And
you
then
still
it
can't live in that house.
Huh?
And you still can't live in the house.
Yeah. And so then the next year came and they raised it to $3,000 a year. And they're like, if you ever move in the house, you need to let us know because we're going to, raise your taxes to the correct amount. So of course they keep track of you, and we did the repairs that we needed to do. We had to sink another $100,000 into our home to get it to where it was livable. And we moved back into the home, and boy, when I got that tax bill, they weren't lying. I mean, it was back up to $5,000, and I thought, oh my goodness.
Is that with the conservation in place too, Amanda?
Yes, with the conservation.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I was losing my mind because here we had just bought this property too. And when I got my tax bill here, I told my husband, I said, you're not going to believe this. And he said, what? I said, our tax bill for 5.5 acres of commercial property is less than our 27 agricultural acres in Hall County.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's just unbelievable.
I thought a conservation land it would be it's much cheaper even with the house on the property and everything just because what are you signing up for like 10 years, right? Like you can't develop it or something like that.
You can't do anything for 10 years. You can't build or anything. And so we stay within those limits, but yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
6,000.
Dick probably has some kind of conservation over there on 129, but I bet his is high too. I mean, it's not what it used to be. Because like I said, when I bought the property, I probably bought the property in 2010, maybe 2011. It was $900 a month for this 27 acres because it was under conservation. But the moment I put that house.
This is something we were talking to Brandon about too. Chris brought it up, and I had no idea about this. But you got free chapel, you got all these churches all over the place that don't pay a dime in property taxes. Totally fine, right? Religious and whatnot. But then you got the hospital that's constantly buying up land all throughout downtown Gainesville, other parts of the county. Apparently not paying property taxes. So, but then you're throwing this burden onto farmers. Again, it's y'all. Like I said, I don't. Again, I have no experience in this, so I'm relying on y'all's information. But it's already hard to be a farmer as it is, and then on top of that, you're adding a burden of $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 on property that you're not. They're literally signing a legal document saying you're not going to do anything with for 10 years. That's absolutely criminal.
It's insane, and they get away with it every year.
Well, and what's going to happen in the next 5 or 6 years when they build a new elementary school and a middle school and a high school in Lula or near Lula, they're going to have to build something between Walker Mountain and Lula Elementary. A lot of people moving in over there. And Lula Elementary needed to have been plowed over 30 years ago.
The other thing about that is I used to be on the one of the boards for development at Gainesville Exploration Academy. It was a group of business people and parents and stuff. I learned back then that when they build a school, they don't build it in anticipation of the population coming. They build it for what they got right now, which is, to me, is crazy.
That's state law. If you get any state money, you have to build for what you have now.
And
like when I was in commercial construction, Gwinnett County did it the right way. They never took any state money. They built their schools with their own money so they could build them anticipating growth.
Yeah.
But everybody else that gets state or federal money, by the time the school's built, you're already too small for it.
Yeah, you've already got them. And then
you built a brand new school and you got 10 trailers in the backyard. I mean, come on.
Right.
Man, I grew up with that at Gainesville High School. Like our I guess the student population grew so much. We had modulars, and they was like, oh, they're just gonna be temporary. They were there all 4 years that I was there, and probably still so. I don't know.
I mean, I think even with their new build on that, they'd still have trailers back there. So
yeah, that's crazy.
And that's sad because what did they just put in? Like $22 million into East Hall High School. I mean, it's an insane amount of money. for a gorgeous school, but how long till they outgrew it?
I'm the same. We did all the work on North Hall after the tornado hit '98. When that school was destroyed and Lanier Elementary, all that land, they should have just rebuilt new schools. It would have been cheaper than building those schools back. And they were, there's only my issue with it. You got North Hall and East Hall and Walker Mountain Elementary. North Hall and East Hall are 60 years old now. They were opened in like 1957.
Oh, wow.
You can only remodel schools that are that old.
So many times.
The money they spent at North Hall and East Hall and South Hall Middle School, the old Johnson High School, when it was a high school, they spent $150 million in the last decade, I know, on those schools.
Didn't West Hall High School just get remodeled too?
Yes. I just did a grand opening for it. It was Carol Daniels.
Yeah,
So,
I mean they get all the contracts here, so I will give it to them that they do a pretty good job. I'm sure they're just like any other contractor, probably ripping off the taxpayers or their customer base or whatever. But
I think what it comes down to it though is we have a group. We have these developers that come in. And there gets to be a comfort level. I know what it's like to work with him. I don't want to try nobody new. And so they say, we're using him. We're using him. We're using him.
They deliver though. I'll give them that. They deliver what they price for. So like you have an experience and I have experience too with really crappy contractors, and you don't know what you're going to get.
Right.
Once you find a good one, they've delivered. You're going to constantly go back to them. So I get that portion of it.
So I do for Charles Daniels. I do a lot of Carol Daniels. I do a lot of their catering for their grand openings. So I get to see a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And they're amazing schools. That Sandra Deal Elementary. Oh my gosh. To be able to be educated in that school, I'm just saying it was amazing.
Yeah. Nice. That's good. That's good.
And then the Board of Education goes to that school and they say they don't have the technology resources to record their meetings. Come on, man. That school state of the art.
That school is amazing. I remember when they redid Fair Street, and this has been at least 10 years or more ago, and I got to go tour it. And I was like, holy cow, this is the most amazing school. That Sandra Deal school, it like blew that out of the park 100 times over. That school is amazing.
It is. It's nice, and and that's where we're headed. And that's why I don't understand spending all this money at North Hall and East Hall, and now the World Language Academy and all that. Mm-hmm. Hall County is sitting on so much empty property that they just refuse to use.
That's crazy.
They probably got 200 or 300. We got the spreadsheet. We know for minimum 200 acres just sitting there and tax free to do nothing with it.
Yeah. I saw that. I think somebody, Tyler had dropped some information on that as far as how many different properties.
And we've got it for Tyler, and we dug into it before Schofield built his farm that he didn't talk to any local farmers about.
Right. The beef farm. Yeah. I went over there to visit the little store. So
tell us your impersonation about that.
So I actually, because of my homesteading background, my friend, Cindy Ball out of Statham, she actually raised cows, had the meat ready, and she was providing all the meat at one time for Statham Elementary. So I kind of knew a little bit about how that worked. But when I went to their, it was disappointing. I'm sorry. I don't want to sugarcoat it. When I walked in, one of the first things that bothered me was the attendant that was there is not a school student. well, if this is going to be a school thing, why are we hiring from outside? Why are we not utilizing our people that are in the program to man the desk and handle these things?
Sure.
They did have some meat that was fresh. Most of it was frozen. That I don't think that the atmosphere was there to get people to come into what would be considered, a local butcher.
Who's the head of this program? Like, do you know who that is? And do they have somebody that, someone like you with a background in homesteading that can?
I would think not, but if it was me, I would have it set up, and I don't know how Nick feels about this. If you set it up like a butcher, like the people are coming in to a real butcher, they're going to embrace it and flock to it like a light. But when you go into a thing and you are walking in there and there's just some coolers with some freezer stuff, and you ask the attendant, well, what's there? And they're like, oh, it's all in the coolers, the freezers. If you have any questions.
Oh, see, the guy that's in charge of it, I can't remember who he is. I've got it all written down. But he's got a training in agriculture, not really farming or anything. He's like an ag teacher. But they sold the farm as they were going to have enough cattle where they could provide all the meat for the county schools.
Right.
Which they're on.
Well, that's how you get it passed.
Yes, that's how
you get that's how you get it. That's how you keep the public off of you.
It's the vision, the dream.
Yeah.
They all want the dream.
They claimed that it was going to save the county money by them producing their own meat. But talking to local farmers, that farm is not big enough to hold enough cattle to feed half the schools in the Hall County School District.
And see, all my children, they took all of them, all 5 took part in FFA. So they all raised cows, and we raised sheep on our property and chickens and other things. So they all were familiar with that. And when I talked to my daughter, she went to Berry College because she was going to be a veterinarian, and she worked the dairy farm there. I told her, and I said, I walked in there and it wasn't what my vision, and my vision, of course, is not everybody's vision. But I think to get people to embrace it, you got to have that. We're going into a real butcher. These kids have worked hard. Look what they've done. And it was none of that.
I think they've got 14 or 15 kids in the program.
And see, for the amount of money that was invested in that, they should have 100 kids in the program. They should have.
It's between 9 million and closer to 13 million.
Yeah. I mean,
and to top it off, they've got a piece of property out 52 that was given to them 30 years ago with the stipulation that it had to be used for farming or agriculture. Their excuse was that had natural gas lines or something running under the property.
Yeah,
it couldn't be used for the purpose of what they needed it for. So they had to buy the land right next to Schofield's house.
Oh.
So he could run. He's helping run the farm. So,
you know what? Maybe that's going to be part of his retirement.
That man's making $500,000 a year off of county taxpayers.
You know, I know Nick from way back, and we did farmers markets together. We've done all that, and the hustle for all that is strong. I mean, if you're going to be a farmer and you're going to make it, you are really you give up so much. Yeah. And to have this farm thing that has very few kids, I mean, they're probably not getting a reality of what it really is.
They can't tell you how much it costs a pound to process the meat. They can't tell you. They don't even have a butchery on the place, I don't think. I don't even know who butchers their animals.
Yeah, and that I know that is another thing. I mean, what's the point of being part of the program if it's not a start to finish? I mean, you need to know not just we bought a cow and we're feeding it. Yeah. You need to know How much does a cow
It,
cost?
it looks great for social media,
Right.
right? For that Hall County School District
Has
Facebook
this.
page. It looks great. So
But it's not, there's more to it. I mean, and I know that Nick would feel the same way. Running a farm, I mean, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul every day of your life
Oh, yeah.
because you are fighting against Mother Nature no matter what you do, and disease and everything else. And so,
Well, like Nick just got caught with those chicks that had that disease, and they're not being able to produce anything. So
Mhm.
they're wondering what they're going to do now. So, you know, you hit the nail on the head.
And these kids won't understand that. What they'll graduate, they'll get their cord that said they were part of a program,
yeah,
and then they'll go off to college. And I pray that they go to a college that can teach them, you know, what to do after that, because the education on farming is so small everywhere. Even my daughter going to Berry, she went to Berry, and then it was a hot second. They'd have taught her how to doing all the veterinarian and everything else. And here she was working the dairy farm every day. And they're like, no, be a political science major. So these colleges, it is definitely, farming is not their thing.
You got to go to Auburn or University of Georgia or Clemson or somewhere like that. Got a specialized school for it.
Yes.
And what I don't get with the farm is why the Board of Education and so why didn't they talk to these local farms and work out work study programs with these people?
Mhm. Well, I mean, it's very much like the FFA when they're out researching all this stuff and they buy their cows, they raise their cows at their home. And if they can't raise it at their farm that they own, then there's always a friend that has the farm and they do it together. And I
Right.
think it may be East Hall's the only one that has an FFA.
North
So
Hall still got one.
who does?
North Hall,
Does it?
yeah. That's not as big when I was in school. FFA was huge at North Hall.
Right. And when I was growing up in Michigan, FFA was huge. I mean, we had drive your tractor to school day when I grew up. So I think that, and we may have been off topic talking about all this, but I think that to educate these kids, it's going to take a lot more than a pretty building.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's kind of off topic, but it figures in to where Lula's going and where do you want all the farms that are around there gone? I mean,
We need them. We probably need it. And I think that probably why people don't, we do have so many acres in conservation. So they're looking at these farms like they're not useful. They're not producing. And growing up as a homesteader, that was one of the things. If you are not useful or producing, or you're not benefiting my farm, then you are gone. And I think that we probably have in Lula so much under conservation because, again, we're back to this older community.
yeah.
We don't want to be doing that anymore. And we have not raised up another generation that even remotely knows how to do it.
well, and that comes from the federal government and the education. It's not just farming. When I was in school and before, and when we were all going, a lot of kids, they wanted to go up and do what their parents did or do what their dad did. Or their mom. Now you're told if you don't go to college and get an education, you're going to be basically a loser your whole life. You can't make it. You've got to have an education. You've got to get a college degree. Where
yeah.
most people, they can just go get a 2-year degree or go get certified and make a lot of money, a lot more money than they ever make with a college degree.
What's sad is they can go get this college degree, but half of them couldn't balance a checkbook because they've never been associated with any of those things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They don't know how to run a budget. They don't know how to look at a checkbook. They don't know how to fill out a loan paper if they wanted to buy something. No concept that somebody will come at them with 23% interest to get you a car. And they're like, okay. And they don't see that it's wrong.
Right. Yeah, and that's just wrong. They've been implied to these kids that if you go into a blue collar background, that blue collar background is just for uneducated and
it's not.
and that's not the case. I mean, if you go get licensed to be an electrician or HVAC guy, you can start off making $30, $35 an hour.
Oh, think of plumbers, electricians,
Plumbers.
all of them. I mean, they are making bank. So funny. Yesterday, I had to get a new roof when we had that big storm. We have metal roofs on all our houses, and it just peeled the roof right off. So I called this roofer. Somebody suggested. He's fantastic. Comes out, does the roof, goes about his way. I run into him yesterday because I told a friend, I said, hey, I said, she needs same problem. Her roof messed up during that last storm. He came out, did her roof. She said, he's coming to pick up his check from me today. He said, for you to wait when you come in. And I said, okay. That man, a roofer, walked in and handed me $300. I said, what's this $300 for? He said, it's a referral. Now, tell me, in what other kind of business do you do referrals and somebody hands you $300? They don't. But somebody that is working their butt off and knows that each person that they contact, the drive itself is so different than somebody that's sitting behind a desk.
Yeah, when I had my residential roofing company, we used to do that. We were hiring everybody because we did better work, but we didn't have to advertise. We stayed as busy as we wanted to stay, and that's the reason. And you made a great point just now. I mean, if you do good work and you treat people right by giving them referrals or whatever, that's more.
Yeah,
and we've lost that in society today.
We have. We've lost a big part of just being able to communicate with each other. I don't think everybody gets angry. We always angry. Well, you know what? I don't have time for angry. What I have time for is let's get down to business and figure it out.
Yeah. And that's where we need to go. And hopefully, if you get elected, you can take Lula back in that way, because the last 4 years, there's just been a lot of violence.
Yeah.
Hatred out there. It's just anger.
It is a lot of anger.
Well, I think a lot of it is just like it's just the national polarity and the political polarity, and it's if you don't agree with somebody, the automatic reaction has to be anger,
right?
Not, hey, let's work it out. And the access, I don't think humans are supposed to have this much interaction with other humans and like this easily. Because we're not, I don't feel like we need to be knowing what's going on in the state of Washington or in New York or whatever. Like, we need to be focused on our own communities. But because of social media, and I'm not saying it's completely a bad thing, but having that much information is like, I don't think our brains are evolved enough in the last 10 years to be able to handle that much information and to be able to process it. Not only just the information, but like the emotional side of it is like, how am I supposed to react to this? I have no idea, but I'm seeing other people react in an angrily way, so I automatically have to like follow the rest of the sheep and reject it.
The other part of it though is you have all these people with all this information, and not a lot of it is true. Right. But because it's on TV or they saw it on social media or Bob the Builder mentioned it, then they think it's all true, and they don't invest the time to find out what is true.
Right. Well, and then that's the other thing too, is again, social media being like in the last decade becoming this hub of like not just misinformation, but there's a lot of truthful stuff too. Because the mainstream media tends to hide a lot of it and or drive a certain narrative that the government wants. In my opinion, that's how I see it. So when you go out and look for different opinions out there, no, they're not all going to be 100% true. They're also going to have their own narrative that they want to push. So that's the thing with data too. You can manipulate data however you want to fit your narrative. And back to our education system is where we lack the teachings of critical thinking. I don't think we focus enough on that. I know from my experience in being at Gainesville High School, that wasn't a big thing until I got to college. Then we started having more critical thinking classes, whether it was like, for focus in finance, under a business administration degree, or marketing, or whatever else. But we had to have X amount of hours in critical thinking classes. Did that help? Sure, but a lot of it's just, personal responsibility too. But then when you have so much misinformation, like you said, Amanda, it's so hard to figure out for most people what is truth, what isn't. And
you can't tell people to turn off their TV. They won't.
Yeah.
We don't watch news at all.
Right.
All.
Right.
I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, I used to say, if it ain't happening in Lula, I don't care.
Mhm.
And then it went to, if it ain't happening in Hall County, because it's coming towards us so fast.
Yeah.
I say, I don't care. But now I read about other cities and other towns where the same situations are happening. Yeah. And you want to watch to see what's going on. But in the same sense, it's like a disaster. It's like seeing some of these towns that just had these nostalgic small towns turn into a shit show. I mean, basically, that's what happens. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And it's the monetization of real estate, and this could be a whole different 2-hour-long episode that I could talk to y'all about this, but it's literally the fiat world where you have so much money, and then you have this constant printing and expansion of the money supply, and everybody and their mom has to chase to keep up above inflation. And what that turns into is people screwing each other over, doing dirty deals, and then constantly just selling out the land, selling out the land, selling out the land. And people, if I'm a real estate developer, I'm going to go to the path of least resistance in small towns like Lula or Claremont or wherever, because I have dealt with the Hall counties and the cities of Gainesville and Forsyth County. And let me tell you, they are a pain in the ass to work with when you're trying to do something. So, yes.
And then the other thing you have to think about, they work on fear. They get under people's nerves where they're like, oh no, if we don't do this, it's going to be so bad. It's going to be so bad. Well, how bad is it going to be? I want you to explain to me. If we don't do it, how bad? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Exactly. And most of them don't have an answer.
I don't think they'll be able to tell you. Yeah, I don't think they'll be able to tell you because they don't have an answer. But here's my question to that too. Now is, okay, let's say they sue us and they win. What are they going to take?
Yeah, they're not going to take the town. So
what are they going to take? What are you so scared of?
And that's what I think they all work on that though. And it works well. And how do we know that? Because on the TV, what do? They scare us into everything.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the food stamps. People are going to starve to death tomorrow. I don't know if you haven't seen that. Everybody is going to starve. Well, surely to goodness, they've had 30 days to come up with it. We're going to plan something if they're really worried about starving on them food stamps.
Yeah, you didn't hear Walmart's closing tomorrow because everybody's going to loot and riot.
Yes, I have. I've heard. I told my mama, I said, I better not see you in Walmart for the next week. And she said, Amanda, I said, I'm telling you, stay out of Walmart. They're going to be crazy.
They did an article on USA Today yesterday, and they debunked all that mess. There was a couple of TikTokers that got all that stuff going.
Yeah.
It's just scare tactics. That's all it is. I mean, they just gaslight every situation.
And the people are like, okay. They don't question things. And I think that is, why are we not questioning? That just makes me so angry. My son, he goes to college in Washington, D.C. He said, Mama, they said I had to have a tetanus shot. I said, why? He said, they just said I had to have one. I said, why? He said, they said I had to have one. I said, did you ask them why? He said, well, they just said. And I said, well, I want you to go back and ask them why. I said, because if it's not necessary, then you don't need one. It's not a required vaccination to go to any school. I said, it is required when you're 10 years old to get it. But thereafter, if you're not worried about getting lockjaw or stepping on a nail, you okay.
Exactly.
And he said, I don't want to put up a fuss. I'm going to go get one. I said, okay.
Yeah. We ended up having to cave into that too for our 4-month-old. But a lot of that was just fear of traveling abroad in the next month or so. So they're like,
And
I don't want to.
raising my children, I was not an anti-vaxxer. I was a minimal vaxxer. So
Same, absolutely, yeah.
I
I'm not an anti-vaxxer.
Right.
But we opted out, and we got hell from our pediatrician for it too. We opted out of the Hep B shot right at birth, and she said, "Why? What are you? Why would you do that?" I was like, I don't see why a 2-hour-old needs a Hep B shot, and because I'll Google it and I'll see how do you get Hep B.
Yeah, they're not
doing any of that,
and they're not doing intravenous drugs, so we okay.
Yes, and I'm just like, why does he need this? This is so crazy.
But you go to a pediatrician and they'll say, they'll slide the paper to you, sign this, your child has to have this. But then when you question them, they don't tell you other than, well, they got to. Well,
yeah.
But why? What
they
happened?
don't know, but they don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't know, and I get it. That's how they've been educated is to follow this, and that's the other, again, critical thinking is like even in medical school they don't teach you critical thinking. It's follow this protocol. Who wrote the protocol? Why is the protocol like that? What's the research behind the protocol like that? So yeah, and like I said, we're not anti-vaxxers by any means, but I did want to keep it at a minimal.
And that's what we did with our children. They don't need 10 shots at one visit.
Yeah.
But they give like 82 shots now or something.
Over the years since 1975, I think it increased from like in the 20s to over 68. So
yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's some stupid number, and you're like, what?
Yeah, we probably would have waited until at least maybe he's a year old or so if we weren't traveling abroad. But just traveling abroad, I was like, you know what? Let's not take that risk, especially going to India because I consider it a third world country. And there's a lot of questionable water and certain things. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's just not take that chance because I would hate myself if something happened to him because we were just like, and I would start calling myself an anti-vaxxer and a crazy conspiracy theorist and something like that if something happened to him. So yeah. Anyways, Amanda, I wanted to ask you, when you got on this journey of running for the mayor of Lula, what sparked that initially? How's that journey been for you so far?
So I had a couple of the councilmen ask me to please run because no one was running against Bruce. That was one of the reasons. I really felt like during my situation with the city, with the Riles brothers across the street, turning that ag property, I really felt not listened to.
Sure.
I felt like they were blowing smoke up my ass, telling me everything's going to be great. But not listening to any of the concerns. And I don't want anyone else in my community to go through that.
Sure.
And I know that I am so headstrong. My ex-husband used to say, I believe you eat snakes for breakfast. And you know what? I think for this job, I might need to be able to do that. So
yeah,
I just didn't want anybody to sit back and not be listened to. That was we all should have a voice or have the ability to have a voice. And so that was the passion from it. What I have seen, I'd like to say that I've been running the cleanest race, just trying to be nice. But probably the ugliest thing I can say is if you're going to spend more money to run a race than you're going to be making sitting in that chair uptown in Lula, then you may need to be considering the reasons why you're doing it.
Yeah.
So I have definitely done a social media thing. I bare minimum of signs. I didn't have political fundraisers. Everybody in Lula already knows me from owning the restaurant. I thought it was better to just be open and out than to sink money into the things. You know,
Yeah.
I got mail out the other day from the other guy running, and I've got 5 kids. So we got 5 postcards for his mail out, all going to the same house, all saying voting for him. And I was thinking,
Those aren't cheap either.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
So
that's not cheap.
the banners, the signs, all of that if you're spending a large amount of money to, like I said, to sit in a seat where you're not making very much money, I need to wonder why I put so much into that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, have you been out, just, you know, I mean, I know folks know you just from owning the restaurant and being part of the community and stuff, but have you been reaching out to people, going to, like, you know,
Yes. So
local-
visiting people, we had a community thing on Friday night that was real nice, where
Mhm.
I just said, we're going to have food. This is not a campaigning thing. Y'all come eat. And so we did that, and we really enjoyed it. We had a good time. And again, met a lot of the older community who,
Sure.
you know, they were like, we need to go ahead and eat and talk for a second, but we need to get out of here because we don't drive in the dark. So
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I appreciated that. Met a lot of, even the younger generation brought in their children to visit and eat and everything. So I've really had a good Friday night getting to talk to people. So
Sure.
other
Yeah.
than that, I have visited a few different associations, and been invited to speak at different places, and in general, just keeping a social media campaign.
You said you had a couple of the city council folks ask you to run just so in the hopes of at least providing an opposition to the
Because they
other
didn't want
gentleman.
anyone running with no one against them.
I gotcha. Yeah, and that's great. How's your relationship with the city council, or at least a few folks? Because I know everybody talks about, well, you're just one vote. What are you going to do to stop or change or do
Well,
what
I'm
you
not
need
a
to do?
vote at all. So
Right.
as mayor, I'm not even a vote. I
Right.
can give you my 2 cents and hope that you do the right thing, but I don't even have a vote unless I'm a tiebreaker.
Right.
So, of course, I still talk to all of them and keep up with them. I don't think that they all agree with everything that I've come out and said, especially because I'm not for the SPLOST. They all believe it because I said, I don't want more industry. Some of them feel like we need more industry. They wanted me to sit there and say, no taxes in the city of Lula. Well, you know what? I could tell you that all day long. Is it going to make it true? No.
Right.
So,
No, and that's what you got to do. You got to be transparent up front.
It's like
right.
it's just a funny thing. It's like people hate politicians, but they want to hear politician answers. It's such
Tell me
a
the sweet
weird.
stuff.
Yeah, it's like
It's kind of like that Felton guy that's running. Felton,
Wood.
Felton Wood, you know exactly where he stands. He's done said, if I'm elected, I'm recalling everybody. I'm cleaning house. That's his number one goal. He don't care what happens to Lula, but you know up front what you're going to get with him.
Yeah. I'm going to get rid of the manager. I'm going to get rid of the councilman. I don't want to say any of that. I would like to think that when I'm walking into this job, we're going to figure out how to work together real fast because
Yeah.
you've got a head start on everything that I don't already know.
Right, but at least he's up front about his agenda and his goals of what he wants to accomplish.
I think that will be my motto too if I ran. I was like, we're cleaning house at Hall County.
My thing
We're
is,
cutting back.
I want to educate myself. So I want to get in there and I
Sure,
want to know everything that you know. And then if I don't have any use for you, I'll know exactly where you need to go.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's important.
I had a long conversation with Commissioner Gibbs with Hall County, and he told me once he got elected there was it's a little bit of a learning curve, especially when the other commissioners don't necessarily want to help you.
And I think that you're going to find that because everybody's going to be leery. They're going to be like, can I tell him anything without him running his mouth?
But I mean, like, that's BS though. You're supposed to be all on the same team working for the people of the county or for the city, in your case, Amanda. It doesn't have to be like that. And it's just such a, it's just another reason people hate government and all the bureaucracy that comes with it. Is like, why are you gatekeeping all of this? Because it's going to hurt your pockets. Like, we get it. We can't, we might not be able to give you hard enough evidence for it, but there's not a single thing that doesn't lead me to that conclusion.
Right. And then the other thing too, I think that you get in there and there's these people that really aren't that educated, but try to pull it like, oh, I know all about it, but I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I can't, no, I can't get a comment. And the truth is, they don't know shit. They're just up there. They're blowing smoke up your ass too. I mean, they're sitting on that board. The only thing they're worried about is what's going to do for them and how they can get what they need.
Yeah.
And that's what gripes me. I mean,
this is kind of the same thing with what's going on with the data center too. There's 4 votes on Hall County, and mine is Gibbs, but let's say 5 votes. All 5 of them, in my opinion, have very little understanding of what actually goes into a data center, what the impacts of it are going to be. You can do enough research that you want to. It's just not something that you're going to learn with one site visit of another data center and a couple hours of Googling. Like, you're just not gonna. You're not going to get it, but unfortunately, those are the 5 people that are going to be making a very big decision for the county.
But in the meantime, they'll get in all their little other stuff in and done, so that at some point, if somebody gets mad at them, it's okay because I've got done what I need to get done.
Yeah. And that's the problem. You got these politicians that they want to leave their mark. While they were on, oh, I built this park or I built that. Well, who cares if you built this park? 12 people use it a year. I mean, I'm not anti-park, but why do you build the stuff we don't need or that just costs money? If we need a park, build a park.
Yeah.
Don't just build the park. The park's on Red Drive and there's several parks in Gainesville. Never.
It's like to pat themselves on the back with some fake made up awards that other planning and zoning departments from another city came up with. Like, and for prime example is the city of Gainesville. Like, you're seeing the city of Gainesville's Facebook page throw out all these, we won the nicest downtown award.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, screw your downtown. Like, that's not the downtown I remember growing up.
And then they put that big Gatorade G on the bridge on the interstate.
Yeah.
All that big glass thing.
Yeah.
I mean, why?
Yeah. The whole trail system too. I'm like, who's this for? Nobody uses it.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys will not put sidewalks down Atlanta Highway where a lot of your constituents have to walk on the side of the road, almost get hit by every single car that goes by. But you can put I call it a double sidewalk because have y'all seen the trails? Like, they're literally wide as 2 sidewalks.
Wow.
Most of
the
yeah, and you're investing that money. If you're going to do a trail, just do a single sidewalk, and you could have just put a whole nother sidewalk on Atlanta Highway or on Jesse Jewell or on a lot of these places where either the homeless folks or just, again, citizens or residents of the county and the city have to walk, and people getting run over. But
the point is, we're going to invest in our center so that we can push them further and further and further out. Yeah. And then these people that they don't consider they don't consider them to be important. Those people will move to the smaller towns. They'll move to Lula or wherever.
I wonder, honestly, I wonder if those people ever come into their minds when they're making certain decisions like this. Was like, hey, we got, I remember from a couple of city council folks at the city of Gainesville this has been on the back burner for so long, but we finally got funding for it. Since you got funding for it, why don't you maybe split it up? Maybe let's do it over here. But no, like we got funding for this, so we're gonna do this. And I guess they're legally tied because that's what they raise money for from the SPOS. Like it has to be tied to this particular project or whatnot. But when you're the city staff or the Parks and Rec staff and whatever, like I assume a lot of these folks they've never driven down Atlanta Highway, what we call Little Mexico here. They've never driven down there. They've probably hardly ever driven down Browns Bridge, and they don't see what the local residents in those areas, what they have to deal with walking up and down those roads.
And that's the thing. If it doesn't affect them, then they really don't care.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing about Lula's going to end up with that same problem if they get them all those houses built and you don't build sidewalks up down Athens Street. How many people are going to be walking from those houses to the up to town? Because it's just right there.
But the other problem is up to town, we don't have anything right now. So, we just had another restaurant went out of business. So where would they be walking to? And that's why I keep talking to them. They bought Carter Alley, which is right behind Main Street. And I keep saying, why have we not developed this in some way, done something? And I mean, we spent all the time to buy all the houses, tear down all the houses, put some gravel out there, and that's it. I mean, is that any better than the eyesore houses we had back there? Are we really doing anything for our community? I think we could do more.
Oh, yeah. Lula's got a lot of potential. It's just got to get the right. I think if you get the right people.
Oh, I brought up, they thought I was crazy at the town hall thing. There's a little, I can't even remember the name of the town right now. I think it's the small side of Auburn where they have all these they have these mini businesses. It's like these little houses that they've brought in like tiny homes. People run their business out of them. They pay the rent to the city. That's where the money generates. But people think these things are so stinking cute. You got people coming for an hour drive to walk around these little businesses. Right. I mean, something like that would be phenomenal for Lula. They all thought it was crazy.
Because a lot of families, they want to do stuff close to home. Just something they can go and get out of, get out of the car, get out of the van and walk around and do things.
Yes.
And y'all got parks up there already. You could, do a lot of the stuff. You got the railroad, you got the museum right there. There's a lot of things that Lula could do. They're just not doing it.
Right. And that they could bring it up, make it more available. I mean, I don't know. I know that we have the mill that got redone, and I know that they've had a few events at the mill, but I wonder why they don't have more events at the mill. I don't know who owns it or who handles that, but we got to go out and see it several years ago. Does it just sit there now? Did we just invest a ton of money to redo this mill? And here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that just don't make sense. I mean, maybe if you get in there and stuff can get implemented and you can get the ball rolling to where
and I know
people are waking up a little bit, because you can't change it overnight. We understand that.
And they say that, I know they always say, government moves slow, government moves slow, government moves slow. Well, it's going to move as slow as you let it move. Sometimes you got to get behind it and shove it through.
Well, it don't move slow when they want to build a 400 home subdivision, does it?
No.
I mean,
Or when they're talking about a $500 million courthouse in Gainesville. Come on, $500 million courthouse? What kind of criminals we got coming through this town that we need?
Exactly.
No, we can't just give away to Hall County.
Got no blueprint, nothing for it.
Yeah.
And they already tell you how much it's going to cost.
Yeah. Well, they are on the crazy train for sure.
You got that right. Well, maybe you can keep Lula off of that train.
I would like to. I'm praying about it. God will put me where I need to be, and that's how I figure it.
Well, I'm here. I'm hoping you get elected because you'll be a good, fresh voice up there. Because I know Lula needs it, and you know maybe you can get over the next couple of years, as council members come up for re-election, maybe you can replace a couple of the because you can't do it all at once. You know,
No,
they started it like that for a reason.
over and over and over. It's because people see the name on the ballot and they think, well, they're probably doing fine. Let's just keep reelecting them.
Yeah. And if the problem with Hall County and Gainesville, it's going to cost you $100,000 to run.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A minimum. I talked to a few people and they said if you don't have 50 grand, you can't even start.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And you just got to think to yourself, what are we electing if someone's willing to take that much money in to run? You know,
Yeah.
what is their itinerary?
And plus, you got to be self-employed or retired because I have meetings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock in the morning. You know,
Yeah.
having at 7 o'clock at night where people can attend.
And that's
Well,
when Lula's is. It's at 7.
Yeah.
Right.
I plan on running on the $0 budget, so we'll see. I just want to make sure no one's running unopposed.
I can donate to you.
Yeah.
At $0. Yeah, we all can. We all can.
Yeah. I really don't like the fact that a lot of these folks go unopposed, but then you got the residents continuously complaining about this and that and whatever else. I'm like, step up. Just have at least have another name on the ballot, even if you're not going to campaign like super hard or anything like that. You cannot let these folks run unopposed. You never know. Like Billy Powell, he's been unopposed for what, 16 years? That's crazy.
And
I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better at that. I mean, he's in my district. He's our district commissioner. But if I had known any better, I would have ran a long time ago. Again, I just didn't pay attention as much as I am now. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm having to pay property taxes and school taxes. And I'm just like, where are y'all spending this money? Because it's not coming down Browns Bridge. We don't see it. You know, so like, where am I paying money for? Where's this money going? How's this benefit me? Browns Bridge got repaved for the first time in like 25 years, just like a few years ago. And you know, we've been promised from the DOT for in 2010 we'll have it widened, 2020 we'll have it widened. Now it's like Project 2050, and
you know what I think is crazy is out there in Julian Ball where I live. That road, the whole time we've had that property, nothing. They don't do anything to that road. The only time when they do anything is if we have the prisoners that come out and cut the sides.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the extent
of my road. It hadn't been paved in 40 years.
Yeah. Well, I got the Riles brothers moving in, and lo and behold, that 1 mile of Julian Ball is going to get paved. And I went down there and I asked, I said, I don't believe in coincidences. And they're like, no, really, it fit whatever our thing was. It was the exact amount of roadage that we needed to do. So we're doing Julian Ball. And I'm like, yeah, the road that 2 cars can't go down without running off the road. And you know that you're going to have big old trucks coming down. Yeah, I'm sure it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think we're stupid.
They do. Mm-hmm.
But
1,000 feet of road. Yeah. So it's 1,000 feet of road being resurfaced. I'm assuming to the end of where their property is.
It's a 1 mile spot. So they're actually taking it all the way over to Cagle Mill. So
wow, okay.
From Cagle Mill all the way to 52, they're going to redo the whole road. I'm like, all these years, nothing. We don't get anything. But they're going to have all this traffic, and all of a sudden, we're going to redo it.
For 40 trucks? That's a lot to repave and a lot of money to invest just for 40 trucks. And well, they did say it's 100 cars.
Yeah, 100 cars for their.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, you have to think about the fact that the Riles brothers did do Greg Poole's thing the other night. So
yeah,
sure it's tied in one way or another.
Well, that's like the squash, Sterling at Lanier, supposed to have been getting paid for the last 4 years. It's finally 6 months before the squash road comes up. They start going in there doing all the road work and that big rich subdivision down there.
Well, that's the only way they can put out those pay for by SPLOST signs.
Yes,
Yeah,
they are everywhere.
I noticed that. I noticed that there's been a lot more road resurfacing projects going on, just so they're
Pay for
able to
my
put out
spot.
pay for by SPLOST signs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's their
absolutely.
advertising for it. Yeah, see,
That's
this
hilarious.
is what SPLOST is paying for.
But look, here's the crazy thing, right? So in India, very corrupt politicians everywhere, local levels, state levels, and it's the same thing over there. When election time comes up, and it's the same thing my wife tells me too. It's like, oh yeah, they do this when you know, you'll see these little potholes all over the place start to get filled, and roads get cleaned up when it's time for re-election. When there's an election coming up, you'll see all this, and I'm like, man, that's crazy. I've never seen that happen in the U.S.
But now,
And this year, and I'm like, yeah, they're doing this here. Like, this is
Well,
crazy.
they're scared because East Life got voted down last year. In May,
Yeah.
East Life got voted down because they're scared now that this one's going to get voted down.
Yeah, and again, like it's not a tax problem. I mean, I hate government, so I hate all taxes. I say no to all taxes, but at the same time, if you're using it for the right things and there's transparency behind it, I don't have a problem. 99% of other people won't have a problem with it. It's the fact that you raise it for something and then you don't use it, and then it's just sitting there, like the 2 million in Lula, or it's that. And first responders, they're not your first priority to make sure they're getting paid enough to have a livable, a lifestyle. Then you have the teachers. Again, if East Los was 100%, we're going to raise every teacher's salary by whatever we collect out of this, by all means, do it. Let's I think it would pass.
But if they're going to do something like that, they need to make them accountable that they are going to be holding up their end of the bargain. Because if
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
not that much,
Yeah.
you're going to make sure that we see some numbers coming out of these school systems that count.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Without moving the goalposts, like Chris has said, they've been moving the goalposts further and further and further down to make it look like
up over 90%. Well, you got kids that graduate can't write an English paper now. They moved the goalposts to make it easier to pass.
Yeah.
So you're not really any better off than you were.
Right. And now everybody uses AI to do whatever. And, I don't know on high school level or anything, are they even going through and checking to make sure that these kids aren't just using,
They got a program that you got to submit your work through, and it tells you what.
I know they do at college, but I'm just wondering.
But it's AI checking AI, so it's like how accurate can that be too? Yeah, that's another fear of mine. Not just in the U.S., but pretty much in the entire world at this point now, is we already had a problem with critical thinking and the lack thereof, and now we have these kids that are growing up on AI. So I mean, you got doctors, you have engineers, you have a lot of critical professions that are heavily relying on AI and AI is not bad, it's also not good. Like there's a middle ground to both of those, and so
that's where we're gonna have to go back, and a lot of those tech kids that are at the technical colleges, or they're going to do the plumbing, the electrical, those will be. We would like to think are going to be some of our more common sense people that realize.
You're not going to be able to replace them with AI. But the other issue to me is the misinformation aspect of this is the powers that be. They're going to use this whole AI thing as because right now, if someone says 1 + 1 = 2, all right, we all know that because we've learned that. But it's getting to the point now where I don't know about that. Let me ask ChatGPT. It does 1 + 1 = 2, and ChatGPT is going to spit out no. Actually, 1 + 1 = 4. And look, you're wrong, because now all of a sudden, ChatGPT is the set bar of what's right and what's wrong, or another AI bot, or anything else. And so that's a little bit of the scary part with AI is whether it's the government or whether it's, again, the powers that be, who's going to dictate which one is the truthful AI? Because there's already a bunch of other competitors to ChatGPT that are quote unquote uncensored, and they'll give you a completely different answer to something versus what ChatGPT will, and you're going to have to make that decision as to which one do you believe.
And I feel like, I mean, they just changed Alexa's voice the other day, and I was losing my mind. And my husband was like, "Why is this bothering you?" And I said, "Don't you wonder why have they changed her? Why is she doing all this crazy stuff now? Why is she engaging in conversation? I don't want that. I just want her to turn the light on and turn the light off. That's my extent of it."
Yeah.
Right.
I said, "I don't want to ask her for everything. I can look up stuff just myself."
That's one thing we've kept out of our house is any kind of voice recognition, voice activated devices. I'm sure our phones are listening. I know our phones are listening. We were just talking about life insurance yesterday, never looked it up on Google or anything, and all of a sudden all my entire Facebook is filled with life insurance quotes and like, search. I was like, they're listening to us.
They are.
They're not listening to us. Like, I haven't searched anything for it to go find other cookies to, pull from. These guys are listening to us. So it's a little bit scary.
All right. Well, y'all have to, I've got to head to my mama soon. So
yeah. Me too. I gotta hop off, but it's been a great talking to you.
yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Hopefully we'll get this up online this weekend before Election Day. Folks have a chance to watch it. And any final words for potential voters?
The most important thing is just to vote. So many people don't vote. My mama always said that it is a privilege and that you should do your due diligence. You should get out there. You should learn the people and you should vote. And if you want to vote for me, that's fantastic. Amen. If you want to vote for Bruce, that's great too. But the most important part of that whole thing is get out there and vote.
Sure.
Yeah. And it's good to see you and Brandon and Corey and all the newer people getting involved in politics. That's a good thing. That ties into more people are involved because we've never seen this before in Hall County.
Right.
So that's a good thing. So good luck, and we'll be rooting for you on Tuesday. And
thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. See y'all.
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.